What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another postseason talks with UFL talks, because we be talksing at it, and hopefully you be talksing with us. We appreciate the Talks tribe when you are able to join us, of course. But as we all know, United Bowl right around the corner, right around the corner. So we will have quite an exciting time on this Saturday. It should be, I'd expect, best party of the weekend. There's a lot of events going on this weekend, but ultimately, the United Bowl should be a time. And they've really seeming to have carved out Saturday for themselves. So, you're not competing with the World Cup too much, or at least the men's national team. All in all, you're doing pretty well if you're the league. And then when it comes down to the teams you got in the United Bowl, there's a lot to look forward to. You got the Defenders, Louisville Kings. Louisville Kings have been one of the hotter teams across the league. Defenders lost twice to the Kings already this season. So what's going to happen there? Ultimately, lots of storylines to watch and a lot to be excited about heading into the United Bowl this season for this season. But before we get into any more, I just want to give a brief reminder. Make sure you're subscribe, notified. That way you can stay with us and a part of the discussion as we wade into not only the off season but the NFL season, college football, all sorts of stuff coming up later this summer. Should have some World Cup coverage going on. We'll dive in a little bit maybe tonight, but also maybe something tomorrow for those who are interested in joining in the discussion. But without further ado, we're gonna dive in today. Really gonna spend most of our time focusing in on the United Bowl and what it offers not only to the fans, but also, the opportunity it offers to the players. So let's dive in on that front. But those of you that may be at the wharf right now, please enjoy it. Should be a good time for you. It's over. So those of you that may have went to it, please feel free to let me know in the chat how the wharf was. Did you get your tickets? What players were there? Please feel free to fill us in on what your experience was like. Ultimately, for those that may be wondering, doors opened at 5:30, and then basically all till 8. You had activities going on, giveaways, trophy was out there, you had players in there, DJs playing. It was a good time, I think, for most of the fans that may have attended tonight, and those that may be out there. I hope you did end up having a good time. But looking at the next, I suppose, kind of storyline is the halftime show. We got 50 hours, a little bit more than that now, or less than that now, with 50 Cent doing the halftime show. A lot of people are excited for that because it will be a good performance, and that's something the league has done well at this season, is their halftime performances, whether it was for the home openers or for the United Bowl. It's going to be a good time. 50 going to put on a good show. I think most people will enjoy um, the performance he puts on. Then just another reminder, we do have the Fourth and Goal docu-series that has been going live throughout the last few weeks, which has really been focused on, honestly, consider it almost a Hard Knocks Office mashup. It's weird. For those of you that have watched, you probably pick up what I mean by that. But ultimately, all of the coverage focuses on Repoll. But then everyone is in here, and it's like, if you watch it, it's very similar to Hard Knocks, but then it also has the office feel of popping in for interviews with the different coaches and players. It's very, very interesting. And what I would say is more interesting than not is, they captured a lot of content, throughout the season in hopes of making this documentary. And the fact that most of it has stayed unreleased is almost the most surprising aspect, I suppose, for me. Not only, this is the thing, is you think the league, as it's been growing, really kind of showing out this season, really been trying to, I suppose, build storylines, draw attention whenever they can, flashy moments. But within this documentary, you end up seeing almost some of the stuff that was really behind the scenes and ultimately was a big storyline, or had it gotten out would have been a bigger storyline. And it's very, very interesting the way you're seeing the story unfold, because we see it from the the public perspective, through the news media, through my reporting, through others reporting. But to see it behind the scenes really provides an interesting dynamic. But then also, the feel of the show really resembles The Office. You kind of have that interpersonal dynamic between the coaches, because there's bad blood, plain and simply. Let's be honest. There's bad blood between Coach Beck and AJ. There's bad blood between Coach Harris and Coach Beck. New coaches, pretty much not too much going on there. There might be a little hesitancy between Prohl and Beck, just based on staff relationship. But ultimately, it shows an interesting time, and I really think that the side of Coach Beck that gets showed is one of the more interesting parts of the show, honestly, because you're able to see what it's like to be in the locker room with him, and I think that says a lot about the coach, but also a lot about the man. And I think that's true for all of these coaches. You get to see them in some very interpersonal moments with some of these players. There was an earlier scene with Neuheisel when he trades a player or releases a player who then gets signed and then has to walk across the hub and join the Gambler. So it's a very interesting dynamic. You wouldn't think that this documentary has much to offer outside of what we've already seen, but ultimately it's really focused on those interpersonal dynamics between Repolt, and if you look at the structure of the graphic here, it is vaguely pyramid like. That is also how the story is almost told. At the center of all of this is Repolt, and I would say, if nothing else, it's almost like a testament to him more than it is to the league. But at the same time, he thought big, and he invested, and he's brought the league, I'd say, to a stronger position than it was last year. Look at this, talking about move the Philly Stars to St. Paul. Philly Stars have not been in the league in quite a while. But anyway, continuing our look at, I guess, some news around the league, but also more, I guess, tied to the United Bowl. They did roll out a prize machine, which is almost like a vending machine that is kind of out across, I believe it's right outside the stadium. Let's take a look here. Yeah, right here is what it looks like. This is Mincy. Mincy getting it up, cutting it up. So you go in here and basically you got this, you roll your tickets, or you just go up and you, I guess, fill out a survey or something, request your items, and then basically you are off to the races. And in here you got like a shirt or a rally towel or maybe even tickets. So, in this machine, you don't really know what you're going to get. But ultimately, kind of an interesting dynamic they've had. And I think it's in hopes that, it may get quite busy, which it might. It very well might. Odds are there is one set of premium tickets in there, and there is one 50-yard or field access for 50 cents. Well, it is a 50-yard act. On the 50-yard line, you're going to be able to go on the field and basically watch the concert. So it's almost more a concert ticket than anything else. Then the pregame field access, that's going to be cool. That'll probably be a separate thing as well. And then a gift card or a few, but mainly shirts, rally towels, that sort of thing. Should be an ultimate, time for those that are able to go out there. Because if you're in the area, I'd be trying, chance at free tickets. Nothing wrong with that. The Tawx is on, Mr. Witchin. The Tawx beyond. The Tawx beyond. Certainly. Certainly. Talks are on, and we are looking at the United Bowl and what is ahead. So, just to recap some of the other news, we have seen a lot of the awards come out following the semifinals. So it is kind of exciting. Check in with the chat real quick. How much are the tickets? Sitting at about $20. Cheapest ticket to get in, and then premium tickets probably around 60. But ultimately, it's probably $60 for your premium tickets. The 50-cent 50 yard access, probably, I'd say probably 25 to 30. Pre-game field access probably is 15 to 20, maybe 40. Probably not too expensive. DC does have a big stadium for the most part. Oh boy. I am from Bosnia. Take me to a medical. Really want to see Statue of Liberty. Can no longer wait. Take me to United States. Take me to Golden Gate. I will. Interesting chat discussion so far across the league, across our chat. So we appreciate the Tawx tribe being active in the chat. We will check in throughout the stream. However, we did have our assistant coach of the year announced. That was Corey Chamblin. Really was the mainstay behind that defense, bringing that or keeping the Battlehawks in the game, and ultimately the reason they ended up with home field advantage in the semifinals. Then some other news kind of tied to the United Bowl that did come out after the announcement of the assistant coach of the year. The league did bring on a new sponsor, Morgan and Morgan, and ultimately their logo will be on the flags for the United Bowl. So it should be interesting. Ultimately, color wise, it fits. So I think a smart marketing move. But kind of the news of the day that came out, the Buddy Tevens Coach of the Year award was announced, and Anthony Becht, head coach of the Orlando Storm, did end up taking home the award. And ultimately, this is a testament to what he was able to do with that team. When you start your season in the UFL, most of these guys have been around each other 10 days, couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks at the most. For the most part, you got all new guys and you're trying to build that team relationship, and it can be very difficult. And that was something I think that really started to separate the Storm once you get out after week 5, is the fact that they are a well functioning team in a league of poorly functioning teams in the most respectable way. Coach Beck runs the system tight. Coach Harris probably similar, but some of these coaches that are still trying to get their feet under them. This is some of them was their first time as a head coach. This that we're talking about Coach Ginn, Coach McCarron, both of them first time head coaches. And it does take time to kind of develop your system, develop your routine. Whereas Coach Beck, been in the UFL 3 years now, did have the time to really, develop his system. He knows how to bring players in off of 2 weeks and then start a 10-week season. He knows how to make sure your guys are healthy throughout the length of the season so they're ready for the playoffs. Ultimately, he has been able to lean on his experience in the UFL. So it's no surprise he takes home the Coach of the Year award. He was the most prepared, I would say, for the job. And you give someone that's prepared for the job, they're going to do well at it. And right here, Coach of the Year. I do think most Beck fans are kind of concerned about the whole, will he ever win a semifinal game? Will he ever win a conference championship game? Those questions I think are valid, and I think they will remain. Ultimately, you do need to worry about, how long will the Storm be able to keep up a competitive showing, because you're losing Jack Plummer, you're losing your starting quarterback, arguably your best player. How is Coach Beck going to, how is he going to adjust? What's the next season approach? Is he going to get something through the draft? Is he going to trade some talent? What's going to happen there? Don't be surprised if Coach Beck makes some moves heading into next year. And ultimately, off of his performance this year, he might even take a leap. We've seen that, of course, across the UFL as well. You get players coming in, they do well. Coach gets a couple notices, and then they maybe make that leap to a head coach at the college level. It's happened, so don't be surprised if it happens again. It might. And then otherwise, we did hear or see the Sportsmen's of the Year nominees all announced for all of our teams. I think more than likely Cornell Powell takes this award home. Probably gets announced tomorrow. But more than likely Cornell Powell, I think, is my favorite for the Sportsman of the Year. But ultimately, all 8 of these players are well deserving. It was a long season, and they really try to put themselves out into the communities, make themselves a part of these communities, develop those relationships between the team and the communities. They want that backing. They want their fans out at the games, and ultimately, when these players, they catch a salary, don't get me wrong, and part of their work is this outreach, but they are putting in their time, whereas not every player is. So a testament to these players and the time they've put into their communities, to their teams. Ultimately, the Sportsman of the Year nominees all well deserving. Then looking at our all UFL team offense, looking just primarily at the players going into the United Bowl, we're going to see Deion Jackson, the tackle for the defenders. No Kings players, surprisingly, but if you look across the team, you got Jack Plummer, my favorite to be the MVP. Then you've got Hakeem Butler, Offensive Player of the Year, and then otherwise good talent. Chris Rowland, really, really good talent as well. So interesting UFL team, especially the distribution. It was kind of focused on the Storm, Defenders, and Battlehawks. And then a few teams slipped in a few here and there. Gamblers getting two was impressive as well, but they did have a good offensive line. No quarterback to throw the ball, but they had a good offensive line. Looking at the defense, this is where the Kings really kind of get their bread and butter. You see Cornell Powell or Derek Roberson on there, but Cam Gill led the league in sacks, defensive player of the year. You got their cornerback on there as well, but the defensive tackles I think were the most impressive showing. You got Bugs out of the Storm. That's another testament to Coach Beck. He was able to bring in, put out a good defense, recognize talent when he had it, and then really make that transition so he was able to apply that talent. And he got himself wins. Even how the playoffs are going to shake out, Coach Beck will still have the best win percentage out of the league. So keep that in mind. But looking at our all UFL special teams, we got Tanner Brown, a couple Battlehawks players, Marco Ortiz, and then Chris Rollins. Kick returner wise, Roland. Truly, truly impressive almost every single time he did touch the field. And then Tanner Brown, been the star of the league, arguably. And then don't be surprised because kickers seem to be the favorite going to the NFL and kind of making a name for themselves. So don't be surprised if Tanner Brown is the next name on a relatively long list of kickers that have went and made the next step to the next level. But otherwise, you look at the Battlehawks, part of the reason they were able to get so far this season was a result of their defense and their special teams keeping them in games. It was all phases of the ball, and they truly performed on that. So before we get into the players of the year, want to just do a quick chat roundup. We have got the anti-tab police are back, and I did do a technical workover, which took much longer than I thought, and the tabs are slightly more under control, and it is not 345, it is 60. Plummer is probably going to the NFL. Not Uncle Jake. Well, hopefully Uncle Jake does get him a job, but even though they're not related, it is the Kickers. Yep, we are chatting. Chat. Sound off in the chat. We got a couple chatters. Compliments of the Tawx tribe. So we're looking at our special teams player of the year, testament of the all UFL team, Tanner Brown. Ben the performer. Ben arguably half the reason the Kings are going to the United Bowl. When your kicker is able to put up over 10 points a game, you're going to win the game more than likely if your offense can, get at least one score or two. And that's really what the Kings have been able to do. So when you look at the semifinals, Tanner Brown, 63-yarder and a 60-yarder. That's 8 points, just that. Then you look at your other non-60-yarder field goals, your extra points. Tanner Brown can really make a difference in a game and has been one to really impact the team and ultimately their chances throughout the season. A lot's been riding on Mr. Brown's shoulders, and I think a lot will continue to ride on him, especially as we continue into the season, or I guess into the United Bowl, because it's going to be a close game. You're going to need points every single drive, and as long as you got a kicker that can make 60-yarders, you're going to make it very far to get some points. So there is that benefit to them. Then you look at our defensive player of the year, Cam Gill, 10 sacks this season. Really impressive work. Out of all players, Cam Gill really was one of the players to separate themselves when it comes to their performance on the defense. So if we look at our stat leaders, sack-wise, you had some close competitors in that 7.5, 7 range. Derek Roberson, 7 sacks as a linebacker, pretty good performance. Cam Gill, though, setting the edge, and that's where I think he really separated himself. Not only was he able to get through the offensive line, but he was also able to set that containment, make sure the quarterback, the play, whatever it was, instead of going outside, was going inside. So pretty impressive performance out of Mr. Gill. And ultimately, the Kings' defense will keep them in the United Bowl. So don't be surprised if they put on a better performance than most are expecting. The record-wise, they're doing better than the defenders. And while the defenders have kind of figured out their quarterback position, there is still some questions there, because if Louisville can get a couple scores up on them and they get ahead on the defenders and put them into a position where they have to come back, they have to chase, things look pretty good for the Kings. And mind you, week 4, Kings odds to win the championship plus 2,500. So if you took that bet then, you are looking good right now. But our next player of the year, our offensive player of the year, which should come as no surprise, Hakeem Butler. Second one in the UFL, but ultimately it's a result of that relationship he was able to build with any quarterback he played with. It didn't really matter. He really was able to go out there, catch 3 balls a game and put up 120 yards. And also, when he catches the ball, half the time he's twice the size of the cornerback. So he can't even, he ends up just running over him and getting a couple, 10 yards after catch or after contact. And ultimately, when Luis Perez, Max Frost, whoever was throwing the ball needed someone to turn to, Butler was there. So I will say, out of just the offensive players on the team, arguably the most impactful. But when you look at the Battlehawks as a franchise as a whole, Butler is that face of the franchise. He is the primary player. So don't be surprised if he really, we know he's not going on and taking that next step. But what we do know is that he will stick around with the Battlehawks and remain a threat against any defense that he's playing against. So expect big things out of Hakeem Butler moving forward, and ultimately had a very, very good season. Then looking ahead at, we haven't had the MVP announced, and odds are it isn't announced until tomorrow. They'll probably announce the Sportsman of the Year and the MVP at the same time, or they'll wait to announce the MVP at halftime during the game. But more than likely, they announce it tomorrow. As I said, Jack Plummer is my MVP favorite, but Derek Roberson, sitting there at the 3rd spot when it comes to sacks, and he's a linebacker, so a lot of his stats are really coming on the tackle front. But at the same time, you got Cam Gill sitting in there. I think one thing I think the league likes to do is I think they like to give out awards equally in some form or fashion so that each player gets something. So Derek Roberson didn't get Defensive Player of the Year. Cam Gill did. So Cam Gill probably ain't getting the MVP. Derek Roberson could get the MVP, but more than likely is going to end up with the Sportsman of the Year award. And then Jack Plummer probably will end up taking home that MVP award. And then Tamu is injured, but Tamu, he don't need another award. He is arguably the face of the UFL at this point. So as it stands, he's a player that I think really should be quite excited about what is ahead in his future, especially if he's able to make a full recovery and rehab. But depending on how Bean does and give him an off season with Coach Harris, he might end up turning into a much better quarterback. So don't be surprised if we see a little bit of a quarterback competition develop over the offseason, or if one of these quarterbacks ends up getting shipped out of town. Either could happen. It's hard to say. But looking back at kind of the awards that were given out for in 2024, kind of taking a look back at our historic players, our MVP. So generally the MVP has been a quarterback throughout every year of the UFL, and I expect that trend to continue in the 3rd year. But if we look, Adrian Martinez, quarterback of the team that ended up winning the championship. Then we look at 2025, and we look at who wins it then. Bryce Perkins doesn't end up winning the championship, but does gets to the championship. So in 2026, who is going to end up taking that position? Ultimately, I'd say even though Jack Plummer ended up, finishing in the semifinals, I expect him to really take home the award, take home a lot of the praise, especially when we look back on this season. And I fully expect him to kind of take a move on to the next level as well. Then a little chat roundup. It is always the kickers, plain and simply. Plummer's going to the NFL, yes, sir. It's always the kickers. Chat, chat, chat. Yes, sir. We are chat, chat, chat-a-Latin. We got to have the MVP, MVP, MVP. Kicker could win the MVP. I'm not going to lie. If there was a player that, I mean, he's not a finalist, but if there was a player that was very deserving of being the most valuable player, the Kings' most valuable player, without a doubt, is their kicker. And I would say across the league, quite possibly. Um, and then we got some more chat, chat, chat. We love the chat, chat, chat. But yes, when your kicker can put up 10 points a game, don't be surprised if some good things happen for your team, like going to the United Bowl, like having a chance to be the champion of 2026 in spring football, all of which could happen. But looking at kind of 2024 and who ended up taking home the championship, I guess, our postseason, it ended up being the Stallions. And when we recap, kind of just a look back at 2024 for those that may not have been with us for that time, you had the Battlehawks versus the Brahmas. So you had a coach-backed led Battlehawks that ended up losing to the Brahmas, who were relatively unknown in spring football. And then you had the Stallions versus the Panthers, and ultimately the Panthers, they had a lot of quarterback issues in 2024, but the Stallions were very deserving. Skip, went on. He does what he does, and he wins championships. Then when you look at 2025, our Stallions and Panthers did have a rematch, so that was unfortunate for the Stallions in that case, because the Panthers were ready. They were very much ready to play them. Then you got the Battlehawks and the Defenders. And the Defenders, this is an interesting dynamic, because the Defenders in 2024 were relatively unknown. But then when you look at them in 2025, they end up being a much more dynamic team. And ultimately, it was kind of Coach Harris stepping in. He really understood or had an offensive scheme that he wanted to implement, which worked out for him. And they end up going against the Battlehawks, winning, basically doubling the score. But then when they face off against the Michigan Panthers, this is where, the Panthers were seen at this point as the best team in spring football. And the Defenders were kind of seen as like, oh, an up and coming. They got a good story. They're lucky, whatever. But then you get into the championship, and the Defenders put a whooping on the Panthers, and that's when I think most of the league, most of spring football was put on notice that the Defenders were different. They were a talent in spring football that should not be trifled with. And ultimately, look at them now. Back in the United Bowl, home field advantage with a chance to go back-to-back, and don't be surprised if they end up doing that as well. They are one of the more impressive performers when it comes to the talent. And I want to say it's Coach Harris. Really good performance out of him. Coach of the year last year, and has kind of became one of the more recognizable talents across the United Football League. But looking back into the United Bowl, we will have the Defenders and the Kings taking on each other on Saturday in Washington, D.C. The Defenders did earn themselves home field advantage. Ultimately had something to play for last week, and they showed out against the Orlando Storm. But I wanted to take a look back at this graphic that was released about 5 weeks ago by the league, heading into, or I guess when they started the promos for the United Bowl. And if you look on this promo, every team was predicted to have a shot. But at this time, when you looked across the league, you thought these front four pretty much were the ones that had a chance, and maybe the Stallions. But ultimately, when you look at who ended up making it, Kings ended up making it. Tamu's out, but the Defenders ended up making it. And when you look at going into week 9, there was only one team that was clinched. Every single team had a mathematical probability to still go in and win the game, ultimately. So that was something to be excited about for a lot of those fans. And ultimately, for half the league that didn't make it to the playoffs, and even those that didn't make it through the semifinal, there's still a lot to look forward to. If nothing else, you've got a roster. You've got some tape. You'll be able to build from where you're at right now, and I think a lot of teams should look forward to that. Then kind of just looking again in at our United Bowl. with the defenders, it's really it's going to come down to, well, one, can the defense get a stop or two, but can Jason Bean control the game and, let's say, not make any errors, not make any throw any interceptions? Has he blossomed as a quarter? He's been there 5 weeks. Has he figured it out under center for the defenders? And that'll be something we'll want to watch into the game. And then their defense ultimately will be quite exciting as well. Then looking at the Kings, couple interesting dynamics here. You got the special teams player of the year and the defensive player of the year on the same team. So maybe that helps explain why they did end up making it to the United Bowl. They are stacked with talent, and it took them 6 weeks pretty much to figure out exactly how to field a dynamic team or a dangerous team in the UFL. And ultimately, Cam Gill, 10 sacks, very good. Tanner Brown gets you 10 points a game. But then when you look at the quarterback, Chandler Rogers, he comes out of the showcase, really is a found talent, and has been able to show up in the biggest moments. So the question will be, can he show up as well in this moment? And then when you look back, Jason Bean and Rogers both went to the same high school, played under the same high school football program, and they're both about to play in the United Bowl. So should be really exciting. If nothing else, a great moment for the players under center for both teams. So should be a lot to look forward to. I'm quite excited. And then to check in on a little before you go for the United Bowl, it's going to be a busy week. So make sure those of you that are heading down there, make sure you understand, make sure you plan ahead. Traffic's going to be crazy. Not only do you have the general government being centered in Washington, D.C., but also quite a few events this weekend. And with the World Cup going on, security is tight. So make sure you are planning ahead. Then get into the field. However you're going to get there, drive safely, travel safely, whatever you're going to end up doing, make sure you get there on time because Fan Fest begins at 1 p.m., 2 hours before kickoff occurs. So good time ahead of the field, kind of a large tailgate that'll be going on. But then the gates are opening at 1:30. First 5,000 fans in the door will get a United Bowl t-shirt, probably the same one that was being given away in the vending machine. But if you get in the game early, $5 beers, $5 Miller Lights, you better enjoy it. And then merchandise, of course, they're going to have the team games, but also after the game, you'll be able to get that official merchandise depending on whoever wins. Then you got Mixmaster Mike mixing up some music throughout the game. And then for the national anthem, Voices of Service will be performing. Should be a good time for them. And then halftime, we got Fitty. We got Fitty. So should be a good time for those that are attending. Then here's a quick look at the United Bowl trophy for those that were interested to see what it is looking like. So here's one by the reflecting pool. Pretty good shot, I gotta say. One in front of the needle. And then we got the Jefferson Memorial. Really a good-looking trophy. So the question will be what team will get to hoist that as a result of their victory. But what I will say, we get to win because we will get to see that 50-cent halftime show. So while that is going on, as Josh Jarbo Remax has said, that will be us. So thank you for joining us, those of you. That is kind of our discussion regarding the United Bowl. We will be getting into some more discussions tomorrow, kind of more previewing the game, as well as looking ahead at what some of the early lines are going to be. But at this moment, we are going to switch over and take a look at some of our World Cup action. But before we do, make sure you are subscribe, notified. That way you can stay with us and a part of the discussion. But before we dive in, let us check out a little chat roundup. We've got who's going to win between Korea and Czechia. Well, we are about to check in on that in just a minute. But on that note, I am taking Korea. Czechia should be good, but I'm taking Korea. And they do seem dangerous. What is that, Mr. Bean? Mr. Bean? Jason Bean? He is locked in. Fan Fest should be a good time. Flight is at 8 in the morning. Mr. James. Should be a good time for you. Bosnian in DC. Hey, be a Bosnian in DC. $5 beers, dude. $5 Miller Lights at a sporting event. The United Bowl, you can get in there and get $5 beers if you get in there an hour ahead of kickoff. Sheesh. Catch me and the boys in there getting slizzard. 11. Heck yeah, tailgate probably gonna start at 10 a.m. $5 beers. The chat's pumped about $5 beers. I can get behind it. President might be going to the game. He might be. I'm not saying he's not. He might be. It's potential. He may show up for, maybe the first half. Check out the United Bowl. If you guys do recall, Donald Trump at one time owned the New Jersey Generals, which was a part of the USFL, which is a part of the United Football League. So Donald Trump, in a roundabout way, is kind of like a historic owner of the UFL. And in fact, actually orchestrated quite an interesting storyline with the original UFL and the reason it was created as a competition to the NFL, which is kind of a story for another day. But if Donnie T did show up, I would not be surprised. He does have a history with spring football. Got to ring that notification bell. Yes, stay notified. Stay notified so you can keep up with the discussion. You got to do what you can, and honestly, we appreciate it. We really do because we need the support. But to turn and look ahead at kind of our World Cup action, right off rip, the opener of the World Cup was in Mexico, with Mexico hosting South Africa. Kind of a tough game for South Africa. Ends up losing by 2, but also they get so many red cards, they end up playing with 9 players versus 11. So then you're really struggling, So what's up with that dynamic there? I think they really struggled, but I wouldn't say it's over for South Africa. Maybe it's just some beginning struggles. But if we look in South Korea and Czechia, 0-0 right now, playing on FS1. The throw in, we got Lee Tae-suk. Throws it in at the 17. 22, 24, going down. Poor touch from Lee Gi-hyuk on the right flank. Allows Prevode to storm across and win the ball back. Okay. Here's our lineup for the Korean team. We've got Min Jae, Han Bo, Young Woo, In Byung, Sung Hoo, Gi-hyuk, Tae-seok, Jae-seung, Kang-in, and Hung-min all playing. And then let's check out our Chechian team. We've got Kovar, Chalupek, Kranak, Kreidl, Kufel, Suchek, Sochka, Zeleny, Zolk, Provad, and Sheik. So, good players all around. Looking at kind of some match leads so far. Shots on goal. We got Schick with 1. Hung-min with 2. Passes. Sung-ho kind of separating himself from the rest of the game with 12. Krechki on 9. In Byung with 2 defensive interventions. We'd love to see it in Byung. A sleeper, a dark horse potentially in Byung. Then we got Provand and Kovar. So when you look at the teams, expected goals, damn, looking tough for Korea. Czechia is kind of a favorite. So far, possession's been favoring South Korea. And 1 shot on goal from Korea, not bad. No chances created. Pass-wise, we got 78 accurate passes. Look at our shot map here. This one was Sung-min, which was blocked. And was off target, unfortunately. About 18 yards away. Shoots with his left foot. Gets close. Looking at the odds here for the game. Sitting at a plus 160 money line. Not bad. Draw is sitting at a 210. Spread is sitting at 2.5. Spread is a half point, so it's going to be a game decided by 1 point. Total is over 1.5 goals, so that's either 2 or 3. And seeing as the spread is sitting at a half, you're sitting at 2. 2 goal. No, you need 3 goals to be scored. And looking at a friendly that they had literally a decade ago, so probably not very comparable. So, all in all, an exciting game so far. See where we're at. They're in the corner right now. Okay, gets thrown in. We're going to see a shot on goal. Minjay takes an aerial. Let's see what happens. Okay, clears it out. Couple clear outs. Are we going to see a shot on goal? We're moving around. Oh, and it clears back out. Okay, what's going to happen here? We're going to see a shot on goal. We're getting some movement. Corner is awarded. Okay, must have went out of bounds. Probably on South Korea. Let's see what happens. The corner is awarded. Hwang In-bom let it go out of bounds. Kind of a tough play if you are a South Korea fan. We're at the 22nd minute. Okay, let's see. They must have tried a header in on goal, and it seems to have missed. Yep, out of bounds by Krejci. Nice. Sitting in the 22nd minute, still the first half. Quite an exciting game. Who are we rooting for, chat? We think South Korea or Czechia is taking it home. Let's sound off in the chat. Who's taking it home? Krejci or Czechia or South Korea? Who we got? Chat, it's a question. Who we got, chat? Who we got? Krejci, South Korea, Czechia, Provad taking it in. Oh, gets a foul. What are we getting? A yellow? Yellow card? Yellow card? Potentially. Let's see what happens. What's happening? Yellow card. Are we going to see a red card? There were 3 red cards in the opener of the World Cup in the Mexico-South Africa game. So don't be surprised if you see quite a few in these group stage matches over the next few days. But what do we have? South Korea and Czechia. Korea for Yamanashi. That sounds like a wonderful reason to root for Korea. Let's see. This must have been more than a yellow, or they are at a commercial break. Which one? Odds are this is a yellow card, probably against Czechia. We're at the 24th minute, almost halfway to halftime, so we're about a quarter of the way into the game. Do a little chat roundup. We're talking about the league grind. Is league for sweaty nerds? Delay in match for a drinks break. Everybody's taking water. It's a little bit of a water break. It's so hot in Mexico right now. We're taking a water break. Gotta stay hydrated. We got dangerous heat out there. Czechia, though, could be a sleeper. But on the note of the World Cup, and we will circle back on some of this, I did want to take a look at what the scoreboard's looking like for tomorrow, kind of get ahead at what our games are going to be looking like for Friday, which will just be 2 games. So we'll have Canada in their home opener in Toronto, going against Bosnia-Herzegovina. Probably end up being a close match. Canada is the favorite, and then the United States versus Paraguay. That's going to be the big game for us. That'll be a 9 p.m. kickoff. Should be a very good time. It seems like soccer, the men's national team, has kind of got the support of everybody right now, as far as I can tell. Then looking at our Saturday slate, which is really kind of the loaded game. So in relation to the UFL, a little bit of competition, but we got Qatar versus Switzerland. That'll be in Levi's Stadium, which is home of the San Francisco 49ers. Then we got Brazil versus Morocco, which will be in MetLife, which, if most people recall, quite a bit of a storyline about the turf, the grass, what's going to happen at MetLife. They've got the worst grass. People don't want to play there. Well, Morocco and Brazil are going to play there. And honestly, out of this stage, I do think Brazil and Morocco are probably the two to make it out. And then you've got Haiti versus Scotland. They'll be kicking off in Gillette Stadium, which is the home of the New England Patriots. Let's see what we've got for Sunday. Australia and Turkey will be playing on Saturday, which is really Sunday. So it's Saturday, a Saturday night game. They're kicking off in Vancouver. Okay, so it'll be a 9 p.m. kickoff in Vancouver, but ultimately a midnight kickoff on the East Coast. Then looking at Sunday, Germany versus Curacao. No disrespect to Curacao. Germany's looking pretty good this year. But this 4 p.m. game against Netherlands and between Netherlands and Nippon, should be an interesting one. They'll be playing at AT&T Stadium. That is Jerry World, where the Dallas Cowboys do play. So don't be surprised if Japan does kind of that game against the Netherlands will say a lot about Japan if they can be a favorite heading into the 32-16 stage. Then you got the Ivory Coast versus Ecuador. That'll be in Lincoln Financial. That is the home of the Philadelphia Eagles. Should be a good field for them. I believe that field is grass, so they may be in luck, the Ivory Coast and Ecuador. And Cote d'Ivoire is pretty good, but I'm going to probably take Ecuador there. Then we got Sweden and Tunisia. Sweden probably going to take this one, but Tunisia's got talent. Don't be surprised, and they are playing in Mexico, in Guadalupe, in Estadio Bebe Bay. Interesting. Then we'll look at our Monday slate, which is kind of still going on with the first round, I suppose, in the group stage. But we'll have Spain versus Cape Verde. Odds are Spain takes this one. Mercedes-Benz, that's the home of the Atlanta Falcons. Then you got Belgium versus Egypt. That will be a good game. Generally, Egypt puts together a good squad. All disrespect to Curacao. How disrespectful to Curacao. What did Curacao ever do to you, Mr. Will Chan? Then we've got the Belgium versus Egypt. That will be a very good game. Egypt fields a good team, and Belgium, come on now. Any Europe team is going to compete. Then we've got Saudi Arabia, the Kingdom, playing in Hard Rock in Miami. Should be a hot game, but thankfully Saudi Arabia should be used to it. But Uruguay, they'll be in for a very, very hot game. June in Miami isn't quite the coolest time of year to be playing a game there. So when we do look at who's probably going to take this one, I like Uruguay, but Saudi Arabia's really been investing in sports, so don't be surprised. Then we got Iran taking on New Zealand. Interesting fact about Iran, given the war and everything going on, they will be home based in Mexico and commuting to the U.S. for their group stage games. And they'll be taking on New Zealand in SoFi, which is home of the Los Angeles Rams. But Iran, very good team generally. New Zealand, don't get me wrong, no disrespect to New Zealand, not exactly known for soccer. So no disrespect, but at the same time, I am excited to see how the Iran team plays because, they're playing for their entire country. So they'll be playing with a vengeance this whole World Cup as long as they're in it. But then looking at our Tuesday slated game, we'll see our second game start to begin. So we got France versus Senegal. That'll be in MetLife. Senegal, generally very good. As far as African team goes, I believe they won the African Cup. But then also, France, arguably the best team in the World Cup. They were the last champion of the World Cup. Most people have very high expectations for France, so I expect them to possibly run it up on Senegal. Then our next game on Tuesday, we'll have Iraq versus Norway. Norway, very big favorite. Iraq probably going to have a tough showing in this game. But Norway, we should get a good look at Norway, and I expect them to go deep, at least into the 16. Uh, then you look at Argentina versus Algeria. Algeria should do all right, but ultimately Argentina is one of the better teams in the World Cup, so don't be surprised if they run away with it. Then our Tuesday game, which is really a midnight game, this one will be in San Francisco at the home of the 49ers. Austria taking on Jordan. This is a toss-up. No disrespect to either of these teams, but I don't know that either of them has that big of a a step ahead on their competition. But Jordan should have. I'd probably take Jordan in this circumstance. Then you look for our Wednesday slate: Portugal versus the Democratic Republic of the Congo. That'll be an interesting game. Odds are Portugal runs away with that. Then England versus Croatia. Croatia looking like a good team this year. Chat, who do we think's taking it between England and Croatia? Sound off in the chat, and we'll see exactly who the chat thinks is winning between England and Croatia. Then looking at Ghana and Panama. Should be an interesting game. Ghana's generally a competitive squad. Panama, not always the most competitive, but generally should show out in some form or fashion. That leaves a good showing, I suppose, for their country. Then we've got Uzbekistan taking on Colombia. I expect Colombia to run away with this one. Playing in Mexico City. Should be a great venue, the Mexico City venue. And we'll take a look in some of our later World Cup coverage. We'll look at each of the stadiums. But ultimately, that Mexico, all of the four stadiums in Mexico are really beautiful. I think the one in Monterrey is possibly my favorite. Then we look at Thursday's games. So this will be next Thursday. Czechia in their second game. They'll be taking on South Africa. So we'll know the result of the Czechia versus South Korea game later tonight. But odds are we could see two 0-1 teams going at each other. But too early to tell right now. And that'll be a noon game on Thursday. Then our 3 p.m. game will be Switzerland versus Bosnia-Herzegovina. Odds are this will probably be a close match. Both teams probably are equal talent. I'd probably take Bosnia-Herzegovina's. Then you got Canada versus Qatar. The Canadian team, don't get me wrong, competitive, but I think I like Qatar in this situation. Then we got Mexico versus South Korea, more than likely our first 1-1 matchup of two teams with a victory, and I expect Mexico potentially to run away with it. Then we got our Friday game. This is our second United States game, so this is the second game in the group stage for the U.S. men's national team. They'll be taking on Australia. I expect the U.S. men's national team to run away with this. They'll be playing in Seattle at Lumen Field, home of the Seattle Seahawks. Then our next game on that Friday will be Scotland versus Morocco. Scotland, they'd be playing hard. But I expect Morocco to run away with this one. Morocco's got a good team this year. But then Brazil and Haiti. Brazil is going to take this. Brazil's looking good. Turkey versus Paraguay. Probably Turkey is going to take it. Turkey's generally a competitive team. Then our Saturday, so this will be a week from, I suppose, next weekend, we'll have the Netherlands versus Sweden. I expect Sweden. Odds are the Netherlands will win that game. Then we got Germany versus the Ivory Coast. Tough for the Ivory Coast. Germany's kind of a powerhouse. And then again, no disrespect to Curacao in any form or fashion, but I'm probably taking Ecuador against them. And they're playing at Gija, which is the home of the Kansas City Chiefs. Then we look at our final Saturday game, which will be a midnight kickoff on the East Coast. That's Tunisia versus Japan. This will be an interesting matchup. If Japan can get through their first two games, including Tunisia, I would say Japan could very well be a favorite to go into 16-32 and really will more than likely be a competitor this season. Then you've got Sunday. We got Spain versus Saudi Arabia. This should be a good game for Spain. More than likely, they get a nice win out of it. And then you got Belgium versus Iran. Belgium might be a better team, but Iran's playing for their country, so I'm taking Iran here. Then you got Uruguay and Cape Verde. No disrespect to Cape Verde, but I'm thinking Uruguay's probably going to take that one. Then we got New Zealand and Egypt. I'm thinking Egypt more than likely takes it against New Zealand, but this will be, Egypt's got a good team, so don't count them out at all. And then we look at the 22nd, so this would be that Monday, so 2 Mondays from now. Argentina versus Austria. Argentina's taking that. France versus Iraq. Tough for Iraq. Norway and Senegal. Probably be pretty equal match. Senegal might take that one. And then Jordan versus Algeria. I'm taking Algeria. Just for the sake that Algeria is a much larger country and probably has much better talent. Then we've got our Tuesday. So 2 Tuesdays from now, we'll see Portugal versus Uzbekistan. No disrespect to Uzbekistan in any form or fashion, but you're in for a tough game against Portugal. England versus Ghana. Ghana might have a chance to get revenge in some form or fashion, if you know what I mean. But more than likely, England will take that. Harry Kane probably gets himself quite a few goals this World Cup. Then you got Panama versus Croatia. Croatia probably takes that against Panama, and then Colombia and the Congo. I'm taking the Colombians. Then you got Bosnia and Herzegovina versus Qatar. More than likely, Qatar takes that. Man, they were moving all over North America for these games. Then you got Switzerland and Canada. Canada probably gets a win here. And then Morocco and Haiti. Morocco's a good team. Morocco's going to get the win here. Scotland versus Brazil. I think Brazil gets this win, but it will be a very close game against our Scottish mates. Then you got Czechia and Mexico. Mexico could get some. Definitely could get some. Then you got South Africa versus South Korea. South Korea more than likely gets another win in that game. Then we've got our Thursday games, 2 Thursdays from now. And we've got Curacao, and we'll go out through the end of this week, through the end of June, which will take us get us to the start of the third match or group stage game for each team, I believe. So Curacao versus the Ivory Coast, finally a game that I'd say they have a chance to win. Ivory Coast is a good team, but Curacao, no disrespect to Curacao, this is your chance to get a win and get some points. The chat is favored in Korea. I don't blame them. They ain't looking bad. Ecuador versus Germany. Ecuador a good team, but Germany gonna take that. I'll tell you right now. And you got Japan versus Sweden. Japan probably runs away with this one. If Japan makes it through the group stage and doesn't lose a game, they might be a favorite going into the quarterfinals. And you get to this Tunisia versus the Netherlands. Tunisia's probably going to take that. Tunisia's a good team, but the Netherlands will be good. That'll be a close game. That'll be a good game. Then you got Paraguay versus Australia. This will probably be a very close match and gives each team a very good chance to win. And then when this game I'm very excited for. When the United States takes on Turkey, we will be in for a very interesting dynamic. Turkey is a good team, and I expect them and the United States, I'm not sure which, but they will probably come out 1 and 2 out of our group, I believe, which is B. So I have high hopes for both those teams. So go America. Then we got our Friday game, which will be Norway and France going at each other at 3 p.m. Then we got Senegal versus Iraq. Very equally matched game between Senegal and Iraq. Probably that one's a toss-up. Cape Verde versus Saudi Arabia. Haven't seen much of the Saudi Arabia team yet. But I expect that Cape Verde gives them a good run for their money. Then you got Uruguay versus Spain. This will be a very good game. Odds are Spain probably takes it. Then you got Egypt and Iran. They'll be playing. Yeah, Egypt probably takes that one, and then New Zealand and Belgium. Tough for New Zealand. Then the 27th of June, we'll see Croatia and Ghana, Panama and England take each other on, then Colombia and Portugal, and then the Congo and the DR, Algeria, and then let's check our Sunday game. So that is where, so this basically the 27th is our last group stage game, and then that Sunday we'll see kind of the second place matchups between each. And then we'll see the winners. Basically, we'll start to get into our elimination matchups for the most part. But let me see if I can find. Let me see if I can find what I pulled up for us. Let me see here. Just 1 second, everyone. Sorry for the technical delays. Okay, let's see. I had something where I could see the... Oh, we hate to see that. Let's see. Okay, so here's our group stages, basically. We got A headed by Mexico, B headed by Canada, C headed by Brazil. So America's in the D group. Then E is Germany headed. And then we got Netherlands and Japan. I honestly like Japan to take Group F. G. Ooh, I'd probably like Egypt to take that. Belgium would be good though. And Spain's gonna take they're gonna take Group H. France will take I. Argentina will take J. Portugal will probably take K. They got a pretty easy walk, I think. And then more than likely England takes L. So those are kind of our group stages. But let's take a look back into the Korea-Czechia game. So we're sitting at the 42-minute mark. So we've made it close to the second half. We'll go till about halftime today, and then we will close it down for the people. Unless there is a desire to keep the coverage going. I'm sure some folks are not able to watch the game, so I am happy to keep covering it. But we are starting to see Czechia make a move here. They're getting some work. Korea's got the ball. They're kicking it back. Moving it around. Trying to get some movement here. Where's it going to go? Okay, they're moving it around. Czechia intercepts. Got a throw in out of South Korea. They're moving. They are moving fast. They attempted a tackle. Odds are a red card's going to come out there. Let's see if a goal ends up getting scored before the second half. We will see. Don't forget to like, subscribe, notify. That way you can stay in as a part of the discussion, especially as our World Cup coverage continues. Should be a good opportunity for all of you. There's also some nice weather, or I suppose bad weather, rolling in across the Midwest. So those of you located in the Midwest, make sure you are staying safe. Make sure you are staying safe. Seems they've released an Among Us TV show as well. Is the chat aware of the Among Us TV show? Are they Among Us Bungus? All right, let's see. Zeleny clears. Kufal clears again. And we are sitting at the 44-minute mark, getting some movement. South Korea is trying to get a shot on goal, it would seem. Can they get it? An interception by Czechia going the other direction. We will have to see. It is out at the 45-minute mark, about halftime on Czechia. On the note of America 250, I love how they're like, let's make everything bomb pop flavored. It is out for Czechia. All right, let's see what's happening here. 45 plus 1. Going to 46. Let's see what's going to happen. Let's see what's going to happen. Okay, Czechia is moving around, trying to clear it out. South Korea gets it back. Oh, let's see here. South Korea has the ball. What is South Korea going to do? Gotta go for the South Korean team. Just got to. Interesting stuff. What's going to happen? Shot on goal, and it does not make it. Suchek gets the save. Exciting if you are a Czechia fan. What might happen? It is hard to say. What will happen? Let's see. Okay. So far, no goal yet. Czechia is clearing it out. Are they going to turn around and make a push? We might see. Although it is quite possible it does not happen. But at the same time, it's quite possible it does happen. We will just have to wait and see. Give it time. Give it time. Okay. Ball is in. Cleared by Hanbohm. Schick gets the ball back. And it's out of bounds. Got some rain kicking up at my place. How is the rain at where you are, chat? How is the rain? How is the weather where you're at, chat? How is the weather? You're right, Mr. Wangs. What a save, dude. What a save. Come on. Okay, we got Zelny throwing it in. Halftime. All right. No score on halftime. That is going to have to be where we call it. So those of you that have stuck with us, thank you. This was a little prequel to the World Cup coverage that we'll be having coming up. Not only over this next little bit of time, but whenever we can to keep the discussion going for us. So thank you again for joining. We'll catch you tomorrow for some more UFL talk, some postseason talks as well as a little World Cup coverage as a little bit of a preview and kickoff to the U.S. men's national team, which will be at 9 p.m. tomorrow on Friday. So should be a good time for everybody. Stick around with us. Make sure you're notified and subscribed. Yes, it is raining hard. I need a Thunder buddy to come drink beers with me. That is an open invitation to come drink beers with me. Actually, I don't have many beers, but I got vodka. Open invitation if you got an umbrella and can make it across. But otherwise, thank you for joining us. Have a great evening. We'll catch you tomorrow for another stream. Thanks again for taking the time out of your day and making us a part of it. Bye now.